All right, let's dive right in. If your organization is jumping into AI, then you are staring down one of the biggest leadership challenges of our time. And look, this isn't just about managing a new piece of tech. It's about governing it. So in this explainer, we're going to break down a really clear framework for how you can do exactly that.
And this quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. We've moved past just managing a tool. Now we're talking about preparing to supervise a force that's becoming more and more autonomous inside our own companies. The time to get ahead of this, to put that guidance in place, well, it isn't coming soon, it's right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We've broken this down into 5 key sections. This is basically your complete roadmap, taking you from the big strategic why all the way down to the nitty-gritty how of AI governance. First up, let's really get to the heart of why AI governance is so critical. And let me be clear, this is not just another task for the IT department. We're talking about a non-negotiable business function. It's all about strategic oversight. You see, here's the bottom line. Without a real formal governance structure in place, all that incredible power that AI brings to the table, it's directly tied to some equally massive unmanaged risks. A good strategy is all about grabbing those benefits, the innovation, the efficiency, all the new things you can do, while also systematically keeping a lid on all that risk.
All right, so we've established the why. Now let's get practical and start defining what a framework actually looks like. This is where we start building the guardrails, the things that are going to keep our AI use safe and ethical.
When you boil it all down, AI governance is really just this. It's the rulebook. It's the processes, the standards, the guardrails we just talked about, all designed to make sure your organization is using AI safely and ethically. It's a simple definition, but it's the anchor for everything else we're going to cover.
Now, the great news is we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. What you're looking at is a really solid model from NIST. That's the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And this isn't just some high-level theory. It's a practical, continuous loop. You start with govern, which is all about creating that risk-aware culture. Then you map out your context to spot the risks. After that, you measure those risks, and finally, you manage them. It's a cycle. Govern, map, measure, manage. This loop really becomes the engine that drives your entire governance strategy.
Okay, so a framework gives you the how, the structure, but you also need a why, right? You need a moral compass. And for that, we can turn to the principles laid out by the OECD. These are recognized all over the world, and they really act as the ethical North Star for building any kind of trustworthy AI strategy.
And this table does a great job of breaking it all down. Over on the left, you've got these core, values-based principles for organizations, things like transparency and accountability. On the right, you see recommendations for governments. Now, for any leader watching this, focusing on those values on the left, really championing them, that is the absolute key to building trust. And I mean trust with everyone, from your customers right down to your own employees. All right, so we've talked about the what and the why. Now it's time to talk about the all-important who. Because let's face it, effective oversight doesn't just happen. It requires a crystal-clear leadership structure. So let's dig into what that actually looks like. And this is maybe the fundamental question every single organization has to answer. Who is in charge of AI? You know the old saying, right? If everyone is responsible, then no one is. And that's so true here. You absolutely have to establish clear lines of authority and accountability. It's the only way to avoid chaos and actually manage the risks.
So if we look at it from a high level, the roles really fall into 2 main buckets. First, you have leadership and strategy. These are the folks setting the vision and the roadmaps. Think your C-suite and, as we'll get into, a chief AI officer. Then, on the other side, you've got governance and oversight. Their job is to make sure you're sticking to the rules, that you're being ethical. This is where your risk management and internal audit teams live.
So let's really zoom in on how this leadership team works together. Right at the heart of it, you need a chief AI officer, or a CAIO. And listen, this is so important. The number one failure point I see in AI governance has nothing to do with the tech. It's ambiguity. So giving someone the CAIO title isn't just about a new role on the org chart. It's a huge strategic move to put a single owner on risk. Now, they can't do it alone. Their key partner is the AI Steering Committee. This needs to be a diverse group, right? You need people from IT, from operations, HR, legal, all working together. And then at the very top, executive management has the final say. They're the ones who sign off, and they're ultimately responsible for the impact of every single AI solution that goes out the door.
Okay, we've got the principles, we've got the people. So now what? how do we actually put all of this into practice? Let's talk about turning this framework into real action.
Now, if you remember one thing from this section, make it this. Governance is not a set-it-and-forget-it kind of deal you do at the beginning. No way. It's a continuous process that has to be involved in every single stage of an AI solution's life, from the moment it's just an idea on a whiteboard, all the way to the day you decide to decommission it. And you know what? That oversight can't stop at your own front door. Think about it. In today's world, we're all using third-party tools, platforms, models. It's just how business gets done. So managing that third-party risk isn't just a nice-to-have. It's an absolutely critical piece of your entire AI governance strategy. And this image of a shared responsibility model says it all, doesn't it? You simply cannot assume your vendor is taking care of everything. You have to sit down and spell out explicitly who is responsible for what. We're talking about the platform, the application, and most importantly, your data. Getting this clear from the start is how you prevent really dangerous gaps in your governance. So let's wrap this up and bring it all together. Here are the 4 big takeaways. First, you have to lead strategically. This has to come from the top. It's a C-suite job. Second, don't start from scratch. Adopt proven principles from established frameworks like NIST and the OECD. Third, define clear ownership. Get that CIO in place, build that steering committee. And finally, number 4, govern the entire life cycle. Your oversight has to cover everything, from that initial spark of an idea all the way through to your vendors. And I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. Right now, our governance is mostly about supervising the decisions AI makes. But tomorrow, it's going to be about guiding its agency. So the real question is your framework just built for the AI we have today, or is it agile enough to handle the AI of tomorrow? That, right there, is the real strategic challenge waiting for all of us.